Who will be the next mayor of Oklahoma City? A new candidate has thrown his hat into the ring and he joins us in studio today. We welcome Frank Urbanic here in studio. I'm Andrew Speno on special assignment with Project 46. Joining us now, candidate for Oklahoma City Mayor, Frank Urbanic. Thank you so much for coming in. Start from the beginning. Who is Frank Urbanic? Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a 22-year veteran of the military. I've been in the National Guard, active duty Air Force, and I'm currently in the Air Force Reserve. And for my main job currently, I am a defense attorney. In addition to being a criminal defense attorney, I have also become a civil rights attorney with the lawsuits that I've filed against the city of Guthrie, the governor, and Oklahoma City due to their COVID restrictions.
Okay, before we really deep dive into the mayor's race and the issues that you're facing in your campaign and that the city's facing, give us some background on the lawsuits, how you got involved and what actions you've taken.
Okay, so real quick, 3 lawsuits. The first one against the city of Guthrie for their lockdown ordinance, and we challenged their infringement on the fundamental rights such as right to assemble and right to freely practice religion. And so with that lawsuit, the city of Guthrie, 4 days after we filed it, they rescinded the ordinance that we challenged and they replaced it with one that took out about 90% of what we were challenging. So it was very restrictive on the free practice rights and other fundamental rights.
Okay.
So it was a huge.
So just the filing mission, 90% accomplished, right?
Absolutely.
Check that one off.
And so then the second lawsuit that we filed was against the city of Oklahoma City in the fall of 2020, November. And that was in regards to the mayor's restriction on the sale of food and beverages after 11 p.m. due to COVID. And what happened with that one is 11 days after we filed it, the mayor rescinded his proclamation. And so there was no longer the threat of 6 months in jail for people serving food or beverages after 11 p.m. in Oklahoma City. What was particularly diabolical about what the mayor did is that he used something called the Riot, Control, and Prevention Act. And that should shock the conscience of everybody because there was certainly no riot or civil disturbance or even a disaster under the terms of the Riot, Control,
Just
Prevention
side
Act.
question, was that statute invoked during the actual riots in May of 2020?
So it eventually was. So the mayor was late to the game in invoking it, but it was after buildings had already been broken into, things had been set on fire. So yeah, the thing the Riot, Control, and Prevention Act was designed for was actually delayed in using, whereas right off the bat in the spring of last year and in the fall, mayor had no hesitation in shutting businesses down.
So what inspired you to jump into this fight?
Well, because nobody else wanted to do it. And I felt very confident that we were right and the mayor was wrong. And also the governor, that was another lawsuit that we filed. But to me, it was very clear that neither the mayor nor the governor had the authority to shut businesses down, certainly in that manner. They didn't have that authority, could not regulate businesses that way. The people enforcing it did not have the ability to do it. And in the case of the governor, there was no punishment for disobeying an executive order issued pursuant to the law that he used, which was the Oklahoma Emergency Management Act.
And is that what sparked your interest in city politics? Getting into this race, was that the inspiration?
Well, so in a sense it was, but because I made so many contacts and friends in not only the service industry, but more conservatives, that a lot of them approached me and said, hey, you got to get this guy out of office who's mayor of Oklahoma City, and we'll support you. And so I'm, kind of looking at various things. I'm saying this is definitely doable.
So you were recruited.
I feel in a sense it was, I've never run for anything in my life. And I'm 40 years old, so it's not like I've been planning my whole life for this moment like my opponent. But I because a lot of people said that they would throw their support behind me before I even started, I said, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm confident I can win. I can't get overconfident because he's the incumbent, and so there are some challenges there. But I'm confident we can get
Incumbent
out the
with
vote.
a large war chest at his
Absolutely.
disposal. What are the biggest issues facing Oklahoma City?
So overall, the theme of my campaign is keeping Oklahoma City open. And with that, it involves first providing the reassurance to businesses that they're going to be kept open to the best of my ability. We're not going to go shutting them down. Next is safety, is we're going to make sure police are respected. What the mayor did in many instances was disrespectful to police. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So with the mask ordinance, what he was doing by voting for that is he's sending the police out into a potentially dangerous situation unnecessarily, where tensions are high, people don't want to wear masks, there may be violence. And so I think that was very disrespectful to police. And so I'm not going to vote for things like that. The use of the Riot Control and Prevention Act to send the police out to potentially arrest, let's say, somebody that worked at Waffle House for serving a waffle for on-premises consumption at 11:30, you're going to go and arrest that person, put them in jail for up to 6 months? I don't think so. So law enforcement, safety, we're going to make sure we respect law enforcement as well. I'm not going to be out there marching with the people that don't care very much for this country.
Okay, and you're referring to a very specific incident, I assume, that last statement about not going out and speaking to people who are opposing police and wanting to defund police.
Right. No.
Tell us the story behind that. Tell us what you're referring to.
Right. So Mayor Holt has marched with the people that were in support of the riots that occurred over the summer. So that is definitely not something that I supported. In fact, as those were happening, my children, I have 3 kids, 10, 10, and 8. Even though it was late at night, I said, kids, we're going to stay up and we're going to watch this. And because I want you to see this is completely unacceptable. We do not agree with what these people are doing. These people do not see the way we see things politically.
You're talking about Black Lives Matter and
Antifa, groups like that. Absolutely.
All the people involved in the Oklahoma City riots last May.
Right.
And yes, Mayor Holt did speak to that crowd to great applause. Let's talk about the campaign, and let's talk about some of the challenges you're facing on the way. We're going to get into that just as soon as we come back. Frank Urbanic, candidate for Oklahoma City Mayor, still in studio with us. Tell us about your campaign. What have been the biggest challenges? The election is in March, is that correct?
February 8th.
February 8th?
Early voting before that.
That's not a lot of time.
No.
What are the biggest challenges and obstacles you've faced so far?
Well, as you know, any campaign requires money. So that is our number one challenge right now. I like to say, at this point at least, Mayor Holt has the money, but I got the people. And I think pretty soon here, I'm going to have the money and the people. It's just a matter of getting enough money to be able to get our message out. I think people are looking for a strong, proven conservative that has actually been in the trenches fighting for conservative beliefs, conservative principles. They just need to know that person exists. And so it requires money. My website, if you can go and donate, is frankurbanic.com. And we're having a kickoff on the 18th of October at the Will Rogers Theater. Beautiful, plenty of parking in back at 6 o'clock. So I encourage everybody to please come out. Please bring people with you. But in the meantime, you go to frankurbanic.com. That would really give us a boost.
Let's jump back to city issues for a second and talk about maps.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the latest round of maps projects and just the concept overall.
I did not vote for the latest round of maps. Our current mayor cheerleaded them, and so I'm not sure that would have passed if they had a mayor who was not cheerleading them. So that is not something that I would have supported. And I think maps started off great, and ever since then, it's slowly veered off course. I mean, we could obviously see the benefits of those early maps projects bringing a lot of people, businesses, revenue, development to Oklahoma City. I think that's great. But when you have things like the streetcar that nobody rides and people don't like to get stuck behind, and we're spending at least next year $5 million budgeted for it, then I think there's some serious problems, and I plan on looking at these things and seeing what can be done to either end the things such as the streetcar that provide little to no benefit to anybody, and then seeing what we can do with the other ones.
Do you think the city of Oklahoma City is poorly managed?
Absolutely. So what it seems like is going on right now is they're just trying to spend money on whatever liberal fantasy idea pops into their head. And so my plan is kind of a get back to basics plan where, and I know this sounds cliche. I thought it was cliche at the beginning, but I've been surprised, I guess, by the amount of people that have told me that they want the roads fixed. And I think part of that goes with that is what I'm calling stoplight reform. And that's to fix these lights where you're sitting there for 5 or 6 minutes. Nobody's going through the intersection, and you don't know what's going on. So we're going to do things.
I've been waiting for someone to address that for 20 years.
We're going to work to fix that. Things that people actually care about. I'm not so sure that many people actually care about these various maps projects. And you talked about how well is the city run. So the Oklahoma City Police Department lobby shut down when COVID hit, still hasn't opened up. Why is that? I'm a criminal defense attorney. I go to police departments all over the state. This is the only one that the lobby has even closed for any significant amount of time, needless to say, over a year and a half into this. So why is the lobby closed? We need to do things like open up the government. The city, the city administrative buildings are to some degree closed off to the people. So not only do we want to keep Oklahoma City open with the business, but we want to open back up Oklahoma City government.
Are you optimistic about the future of the city?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have people coming here because of our Oklahoma values, our conservative principles, limited government, respect of individual rights, property rights. We don't have people coming here because they want all these liberal fantasy ideas. And so as long as we can stay the course up until fairly recently, then I think we're going to do great.
Yeah, people are leaving California for a reason.
Right.
Frank Urbanic, candidate for Oklahoma City Mayor, thank you so much for coming in. Good luck to you in your campaign. Give us the website one more time if people want more info.
frankurbanic.com.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Thank you for joining us here on Special Assignment Project 46. I'm Andrew Speno. We'll see you again next week.